Welcome to the April edition of the Tacoma Coffee House, where we'll kick around the state of soccer in Tacoma Park with Youth League Commissioner Jack Winters and the Geezer League's Rick Eisen on Body and Soul. Next on In Sickness and in Health, Sally Lux and Leslie Montgomery of Crossings stick holes in the notion that acupuncture doesn't work. Then tune into the vocals and guitar of Grace Griffith on musical traditions, followed by Writer's Block, a Vietnam-era retrospective. Author Paul Hendrickson discusses his latest biography, The Living and the Dead, Robert McNamara and 5 Lives of a Lost War. On Coffee House Forum, some tips on doing well while doing good. Elisa Gravitz of Co-op America and Steve Sheath of the Calvert Group say, put your money where your values are. Plus, commentaries by Andrea Stewart, Lorraine Hutchins, and Condi Clayton, and poetry by Norman Green. But first, the editors of the Tacoma Voice have the news.
Hi, I'm Eric Bond.
I'm Nancy O'Donnell.
And we've got the news.
Community policing took a giant leap forward in Tacoma Park when girl detectives Hannah McCann, Zoe Stern put a stop to a recent one-man crime wave. She nabbed her fair share of shoplifting, but Zoe moved beyond busting bead snatchers when she helped nab a very energetic shoplifter who may have stolen thousands of dollars worth of merchandise from Carroll Avenue businesses. Zoe says she started noticing things were missing a few weeks ago, including a big mask worth $200. Soon she noticed that the store was a little emptier each time a very tall woman left the store.
On Tuesday, March 18th, Zoe says a friend called to tell her that he'd recognized some S&A Beads merchandise at a Silver Spring pawn shop. Joined by Hannah McCann, an antiques vendor at Tacoma Underground, the two women went to Buy and Sell Emporium on Ripley Street. Soon the pair were pointing at items including a $200 Russian inkwell owned by Tacoma Underground antique dealer Faith Rudifer. Some of the goods, they say, still had price tags on them. After a marathon telephone alert, Audrey Freed from Tallulah's, Cindy Vanco of Blue Moon, Jan Schwartz of Finewares, staff from Arise, and another vendor from Tacoma Underground descended on the pawn shop, growing ever more irate at the number of purloined products. Next, Zoe called the city police, but she says that they told her to get the Montgomery County Police to go with her when she went to Buy and Sell to return the merchandise. Hannah says that she was told by the Montgomery County Police to go to Tacoma Park for help since the thievery occurred in the city. Undaunted, Zoe and Hannah pursued reluctant Montgomery County cops to return with them the next day. They soon learned that all the merchandise had been pawned by one Zetta Dent, age 39 of Tacoma, D.C. Gender unclear.
3 days later, Zetta was back on Carroll Avenue. This time, Stephen Now and Then was ready. After Zetta left empty-handed from that shop, she headed for S&A Beads. Zoe was equally prepared. Already on the phone with the Tacoma Park Police, she hung up as Zetta came in. 10 minutes later, the police still not on the scene. Zetta had moved across the street to Tacoma Underground and had stolen a Mack truck ashtray. She was on her way to the Metro, where she was finally arrested by Tacoma Park detective Dan Frischkorn. Frischkorn identified Zetta as a male and charged him with a felony for theft over a period of time. Dent is being held at the Rockville Detention Center.
Larry Silverman, owner of S&A Beads, says he is very proud of Zoe, the young woman he says other businesses call Nancy Drew, girl detective. She's been working for us since she was 16 years old, says Silverman, and she's caught a number of shoplifters. People are in jail because of her. She ought to be chief of police. Silverman was not so happy with the Tacoma Park Police, who he feels were too slow in responding when Zetta came for another day of shoplifting, nor with the Buy and Sell Emporium for buying so much from Zetta. Nadine Rubenstein, co-owner of Tacoma Underground, was especially angered when she learned that Zetta's name was known on Tuesday, but she could still snatch a $65 ashtray from her store before she was finally arrested on Friday. It's not our job to solve the crime, but we did solve the crime, says Rubenstein. Meanwhile, Hannah McCann says she's scheduled to enroll in the Citizens Police Academy, and she's trying to persuade a reluctant Zoe to start a private eye business. Hannah says Zoe's a natural for criminal investigations. Quote, if it wasn't for her contacts in the suburban underworld and the pawn shop people, we'd never have broken the case, says McCann.
Escalating incidents of armed robberies, auto thefts, burglaries, and other crimes in the Tacoma Park area, and a call for help from the community precipitated Operation Linkage, a cooperative law enforcement effort between multiple jurisdictions to catch violent thugs. The Tacoma Park Police Department, the Maryland State Police, the D.C. Police Department, PG and Montgomery County Police Departments, and the Maryland National Capital Park Police have joined with the Transit Authority Police to pledge to work together in concentrated patrol efforts and coordinated information sharing to identify and apprehend violent offenders, according to Governor Paris Glendenning's office. The Takoma Park Metro Station was the scene of a large gathering of politicians and no observable thugs on March 10th. Governor Glendenning, Lieutenant Governor Kathleen Kennedy Townsend joined delegates Peter Franchot, D.C. Police Chief Larry Soulsby, Takoma Park Acting Chief Dan Wortman, and police from other jurisdictions. Governor Glendenning, speaking to the crowd of officials and police, said he was committed to helping the citizens of Takoma Park take back their community.
According to then Acting Chief Dan Wortman, the police effort has dramatically reduced crime on the streets of both Takoma Park, Maryland, and Tacoma, D.C. Working with Takoma Park City Council member Larry Rubin and D.C. Council member Charlene Drew Jarvis, Wortman implemented Partners on Patrol in January. Wortman said Takoma Park began working with the D.C. police to solve and discourage crime. Since the offensive was launched, there has been a 20% reduction in burglaries. This effort also led to 38 arrests and a two-thirds drop in street crime on the district side of the line since January, and a similar drop on the Maryland side. The first phase of Operation Linkage involves undercover work to identify and arrest drug dealers, armed robbers, and illegal gun carriers. The second phase, seen in downtown Takoma Park in recent days, brings heavy uniformed patrol targeting stolen vehicles, traffic offenses, and locating wanted persons. The third phase is aimed at community involvement through crime prevention efforts, something Takoma Park has plenty of, and neighborhood revitalization.
A sleepy historic Tacoma is energized in recent months and is rocketing from one new project to another. The first project involves enlarging 12 turn-of-the-century photos for a traveling display. Historic Tacoma treasurer Jack Carson selected the 12 photos, which include one he calls the Roller Coaster Gang. "It's my all-time favorite," says Carson. 5 boys with a wagon are using 2 wooden strips to fashion a roller coaster. The other photos include a picture of Takoma Park founder B.F. Gilbert, the old train station, a carriage house, Sligo Waterworks, the Wildwood Terminal, as well as shots of city residents. A grant from Montgomery County Historic Preservation Commission is paying for half of the photo enlargements, and Historic Tacoma is expected to match the remaining funds. Buying a carriage for the Thomas Siegler House is also on the to-do list. Carson says the group expects to pay about $1,000 for one. Anyone interested in joining Historic Tacoma or in volunteering can call 270-1700, extension 662.
After spending over a year negotiating with potential developers to build a huge mall complex in downtown Silver Spring, Montgomery County has switched tactics and has decided to think small. Acting on the unanimous recommendations of the Silver Spring Development Advisory Board, County Executive Doug Duncan has committed $15,000 to the Main Street Foundation for a feasibility study on a potential Fenton Avenue village. The Main Street Foundation has been involved in projects in over 1,200 communities around the U.S., including Saratoga Springs, Florida, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and various Boston neighborhoods. Recently, the foundation was contracted to advise the entire city of San Diego. The goal of the foundation is to promote old-fashioned town centers. Rather than using the mall concept as the main draw, the foundation looks for other ways to bring people to town, such as parks or small diverse shops. Although the advisory board voted unanimously, some members are skeptical, saying that Fenton Street does not fit a Main Street model. On Saturday, March 30th, St. Camillus Church in Silver Spring staged Stations of the Cross, holding up traffic along University Boulevard and the neighborhoods behind New Hampshire Avenue, leading to the church, which is just south of the Beltway. The procession started at the Spanish Catholic Center in Takoma Park, with more than 2,000 spectators following the procession, marking the stages that Jesus took in his path to crucifixion, and arriving at the church approximately 3 hours later.
A stroll down Main Street will be the theme for the 1997 Takoma Park House and Garden Tour. The tour, which runs on May the 4th from 1 to 4 p.m., will visit homes and gardens in the Carroll Avenue corridor from Tacoma Junction to Flower Avenue. The stroll will feature a variety of architectural styles and gardens. Opal Daniels Park will be the site for refreshments. Tickets may be purchased the day of the tour at the Municipal Building for $10. Advance tickets will be available for $8 at the Farmers Market.
Grease up your bikes, Takoma Park. The first annual Earth Day Bike Around is coming. On April 20th, Takoma Parkians will celebrate Earth Day by pedaling to all the major Takoma Park landmarks, cruising the borders, visiting Sligo Creek Waterworks, maneuvering the controversial WSSC Hiker-Biker Trail. Guides from the Tacoma Voice and Sligo Computer Services will holler out when important sites are visible. The adult ride will take approximately 2 hours. Bicyclers will meet at the gazebo at 10 o'clock a.m. For more information, call 301-891-6744.
The Old Town Farmers Market opens this month. Beginning Sunday, April 20th, residents will be able to buy locally grown produce and flowers as well as various handicrafts. The market will be open from 10 o'clock until 2 p.m. every Sunday until December 21st. In addition, a midweek farmers market will once again be held every Wednesday afternoon in the City Lot in Tacoma Junction. The midweek market will run from May 28th to October 8th from 4 to 7. For more information, call 301-270-1700.
May 18th will mark the first annual Azalea Awards. This event is sponsored by the Tacoma Foundation, the Tacoma Voice, and Sligo Computer Services and will provide an opportunity for the foundation to publicly present its grants to community recipients. After the grants have been given out, various civic leaders will present awards to exemplary community members. The presentation of grants and awards will be followed by a gala, so bring your dancing shoes. If you know of someone who has been an extraordinary world citizen, please nominate them for the Azalea Awards by calling the Tacoma Voice at 301-891-6744. Also, calls are going out for donations to the Alan Hill Scholarship Fund. Alan Hill was a member of the 1989 nationally acclaimed Montgomery Blair Jazz Ensemble. He continued his studies at the New England Conservatory of Music after graduating from high school. A gifted reed player, Alan was comfortable in both classical and jazz settings. After graduating from New England, he was to become an understudy musician at the St. Louis Symphony. 2 weeks before graduating, however, Alan was beaten badly during a holdup, and he died in the hospital a few weeks later. The Alan Hill Memorial Scholarship Fund helps needy student musicians at Blair an instrumental music program to pay for private music lessons. To support this scholarship, send checks to the Alan Hill Memorial Scholarship Fund, care of the Montgomery Blair Band and Orchestra Boosters, Montgomery Blair High School, 313 Wayne Avenue, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20910.
On a final note, we turn to rabbits. Sharon Waldvogel, owner of Shampoo Hair Studio, has gotten a reputation for holiday decorations in the front window of her Carroll Avenue shop. Steaming demons at Halloween, a field of red hearts on St. Valentine's Day, or vintage graduation photographs in June. This Easter, Waldvogel's window design had a lot of rabbits in it. The shampoo crew started with 4 stuffed rabbits. Now Sharon says we watched the bunnies multiply. And there are lots and lots of rabbits, and if you're in Tacoma Park, check it out because there are a lot of rabbits. And it's where soon over 20 rabbits had moved. It was the word proliferated. I had a problem with the word proliferated, couldn't do it at all. So the rabbits keep moving around in the window, and there must be a bunny hop every night in the windows out here. And that's the news from the coffee house. I'm Nancy O'Donnell.
I'm Eric Bond. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.
Charges of media censorship at Blair High School today and yesterday. We'll have 2 commentaries, followed by soccer in Tacoma Park. The young and old of it on Body and Soul.
My name is Andrea Stewart, and I'm the executive producer at WBNC TV at Montgomery Blair High School in Silver Spring, Maryland. The rights of students in public schools, especially student journalists, has long been a very hot topic among people in journalism, education, constitutional law, as well as students. In October, Montgomery County school officials decided that a student-produced program at Montgomery Blair High School about same-sex marriage did not have the right to be aired on Montgomery County's education channel. Shades of Grey is the name of the controversial issue show, which is produced as part of an honors-level TV productions course for WBNC, and the episode on same-sex marriage has turned out to be quite a controversy itself. The episode of Shades of Grey featured 4 guests, 2 from each point of view on the same-sex marriage topic, who discussed the societal impact, legal aspects, and religious implications of same-sex marriage for the duration of the hour-long program. Once the show was submitted to the school system for air, It was rejected on the basis of its inappropriateness. Inappropriate was later clarified as referring to the religious comments by one of the guests. The programming director also felt the program needed to be submitted to the Health Education Department of the school system for review. From this point, the students were supplied with additional reasons as to why the show should not air, including the inappropriateness of the topic, the technical quality of the show, and the underlying themes of advocacy from both sides of the panel. Montgomery County Public Schools has established its own criteria, which protects students from this sort of censorship of student journalism. Although no one has alleged that Shades of Grey falls into any of these categories, the regulations state that a principal can censor a student work if it is obscene, libelous, harmful, or disruptive. The foundation of these regulations come from numerous Supreme Court cases such as Rosenberger, Hazelwood, and Tinker, which do a lot to protect student speech. And, of course, at the heart of this issue is the First Amendment. And because the Education Channel is a government channel that is operated by the school system is bound by the First Amendment. At the current moment, the students are working their way through the appeal process at the Montgomery County Board of Education, and the students, their teacher, their principal, and numerous other supporters hope they can see this situation come to a close soon.
I'm Lorraine Hutchins, and I was born and raised in Tacoma Park, and I was censored by Montgomery Blair High School 31 years ago in 1965 when I was the editor of Silver Chips, the student newspaper at Montgomery Blair. I salute Andrea and everybody who's fighting there today because I think you should hear the story of how I was censored back then and how it all connects. We decided to do an article on Batman and Robin, okay? Batman and Robin, just because they were considered camp, and we used the word camp, and we said, what does camp mean? Well, camp means something in the homosexual subculture. That's where the word comes from. It's meaning unusual, weird, funny, and Batman and Robin movies being revived from the 30s, they feel camp, they feel weird, and they feel fascinating. The vice principal seized the newspapers and locked them up in the school safe. What did I learn from that? Well, number one, we had been prepared and kept a lot of extra copies, so we were giving them out in the hallway while he was thinking he had them all in the school safe. That's be prepared, number one. But he told me when I marched down to his office that homosexuality was a word that young people should not know about or use. And I learned to be more curious about it because he told me that. I didn't know I was bisexual then. I didn't know my best friend was being beaten up in gym class because he was too ashamed to tell me, and the principal and the coach didn't do anything about it. He didn't know he was gay then. He just knew that people thought he looked gay and wanted to beat him up. Censorship is always wrong. The truth and information is always what's important, and young people and people of every age need to have information. And information will help us decide. That's all that's important. Thanks.
Hi, and welcome to Body and Soul. I'm Howard Cohn, and I'm wearing one of the official uniform shirts of Tacoma Park, a soccer shirt, that is. Look around you. Can everybody see this? Look around you one of these fine spring mornings, and you will see soccer shirts everywhere you go. Kids wear them to school, to the playground, and of course out on the fields. 1,000 kids play soccer every weekend in Tacoma Park. It's a foreign idea that seized our imaginations. The Tacoma Park League is now organizing the first ever soccer festival for this spring, Memorial Day weekend. And now there's a Tacoma Park Geezer team, a bunch of old guys going at it till their bones break. You'll hear more about the festival and the Geezers in a minute. But first, we're going to try to figure out what's behind this whole phenomenon of soccer madness, which is why I have these two guys with me tonight. Youth League Commissioner Jack Winters and Rick Eisen. The Geezer. Yeah, the other day, there's this whole story on the front page of the Post. We're running out of fields for soccer. How is it possible that a sport that really wasn't even on the radar screen when we were growing up, which is a long time ago, I realize, but now is outstripping the capacity for playing?
I think it really is coming just from the kids and the fact you can start so young and you don't really have to be able to do anything. If you can run up and down the field, you can play, and the kids have started doing that and they love it.
It's the most democratic sport in the world, right? No skill is...
No skill whatsoever, and the coaches don't need to know anything
Right.
at that age. They just need to be able to move the kids up and down the field.
Which is why you have geezers playing it, right?
That's why
That's
that's exactly where the geezers came from.
So Jack, how did you get into it? I mean,
Well,
you didn't play as a kid.
No, I didn't play at all as a kid. I played lots of sports, but soccer wasn't one of them. Then about 3.5 years ago, my daughter's best friend was playing, and she got the idea of maybe trying it out, but she wasn't sure. And by being an assistant coach, she was willing to play. And so it was really through her that I got involved. I had never touched a soccer ball 4 years ago. And now I coach 3 teams, and I'm commissioner of the league.
You're commissioner of the league.
And it's just been a wonderful experience for our community, and it's just been.
And when did you start, Rick?
I started the same way that Jack did, but maybe 2 or 3 years earlier than that, because my daughter's a little bit older.
And you're older.
And I'm a little older, that's right. Now, I grew up in West Virginia, and I mean, nobody ever heard of soccer. It wasn't something that anybody ever did. I think the first time I ever saw soccer was I was in Israel, and I saw some guys playing along the beach, and I asked them if I could get in the game, and when I finished kicking them in the legs and totally ruining the game, then that was the last time I played for another 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, I think I played it as a kid, but I think we really played rugby, as I recall, because there was tackling, there were...
The way we play soccer now is like rugby.
That's right. Right, I haven't
changed a bit, that's right.
Well, let's talk about the Kids League and go through that a little bit, because this is a true phenomenon of Takoma Park. You've got something that now has more than 1,100 kids, right?
Right.
And more than 100 adults every weekend. It's the largest volunteer organization in the city.
About 150.
Yeah, 150
playing,
and that's from from.
Well, we now have 81 teams. A year ago, it was under 70. When I started coaching 3.5 years ago, there were 4 divisions, all co-ed, and there were roughly maybe 350, 400 kids, under 30 teams. Now we have 10 divisions, including 4 that are girls divisions. And the girls divisions have been absolutely a phenomenon, and Howard, you deserve a lot of the credit for that. I coached 2 girls teams, and it's just been absolutely wonderful.
We all have daughters. All three of us got
yeah.
into this because of daughters.
Yeah.
Actually, we have some tape here, which we can roll up, and you can see the kids in action. And I think when you watch this, you can see why it's such a popular sport. I mean, it is all action. Roll it, guys. Here we go. This is, what is, where can we figure out where this is?
This is
Lee Jordan. This is at Ed Wilhelm Field, isn't it? Well, in any event, Ed Wilhelm Field, incidentally, which is behind Pine Branch Elementary, is being renovated. One of the big projects of the soccer league and the baseball league and the city, which is what that Washington Post story was all about how you've got to take on the control and the maintenance of your own leagues if you're in the soccer business this year.
This is actually Lee Jordan.
Is it Lee Jordan?
Yeah.
All right.
When you think about it, with 81 teams, we essentially have about 41 games a weekend. And with 41 games in a weekend, that's a lot of fields. So we have about 6 or 7 fields that we have to use each weekend. And it's a real challenge to make it all go, keep the fields up.
There they go. These kids are about,
Look like
what about
7th grade, I think.
7? Really? Okay.
No, that's Javier.
Oh, that's Javier. Okay.
I recognize one is one of the kids who's played for me before.
Well, he actually plays for me at the moment, but I've coached a number of kids at a number of teams. Well, so that's the kids. We've got it's I think every kid in Takoma Park at one time or another is either out on those fields or is certainly tempted to get out there, because in fact I got a call from one woman a while back who said that she didn't like soccer. She didn't really want her daughters to be involved in soccer, but because of you, Jack, because she's friends with her daughter's friends with your daughters, and she said there's the only way they could see the Winters girls is if she joined the league. Hence, she joined the league. So from the kids to the geezers, and the transition of that was the coaches started to play on Saturday morning, right? You guys.
Almost 2 years ago, we started playing.
I don't remember whose idea it was, but it was somebody's idea that you have all these people who've been coaching who've never really played soccer before. And in fact, most of the coaches in the Tacoma League have come up from learning how to play by watching. They're usually people who were good athletes playing basketball or baseball or something else while they were
You were
growing
a
up.
baseball player, you were a
I
basketball
played
player.
baseball, I played basketball, I played tennis, I played just about everything but soccer.
The person who really got it going is John McCarthy.
John McCarthy.
It started as about 8 guys, and now every weekend we have about usually 30, roughly 30
Men
that are
and
playing.
women.
Men and women.
Because there are men and women coaches in the league.
Usually about a half a dozen women or so
Yeah.
each weekend. Yeah.
And I think you're right, about 80% of them did not play as kids.
There are a handful. You can tell within about 30 seconds of being on the field who's played soccer before just by being able to use their feet. I think that's the big difference. Is that people of our generation grew up being athletes and never knew how to use their feet other than to run. They never knew how to kick the ball. And you see these guys who come out on the field and can immediately start kicking the ball and controlling the ball with their feet, and they stand out. And particularly in this Saturday morning game, and as it got going, more and more players came out who were good players. People who came from other countries, or people who, for whatever reason, had come from somewhere that they did play, and younger people. And
which is what I've always liked about soccer in Tacoma Park, is that, I mean, we talk about diversity and integration of the community, but in fact, you seldom see it. But one place you do see it is out there Saturday morning with the kids, and now with the adults as well. I mean, that's a very mixed group.
It is a mixed
absolutely.
group, and people have had such a good time with it. And I think that a lot of the coaches have learned to be better coaches because they learned how to play the game. And once you start playing it, you get a whole different set of ideas about what the kids ought to be doing, because you figure out, well, number one, what's really hard to do, and you get some idea of strastrategy. Things change a lot when you actually
There's
start
still
playing.
a rule that no kids are allowed to come for the adults,
That's
right?
right.
that was the biggest surprise for me, is I had coached 4 or 5 seasons before I started really playing the game. And there's a lot of pressure on you when the ball suddenly comes to you. And it's been absolutely a wonderful experience, learning from some of the veterans and being truly a part of it. In the year and a half that I played with adults, I have cracked ribs, bruised ribs, chipped a tooth, and then messed up my knee. And yet I still come back for more because it's so much fun, and a lot of community spirit has developed through it among the coaches.
And there were, we had originally some tape of the geezers from Saturday morning, but my wife taped over it, so we have cartoons instead. Although it's
Pretty
kind
similar,
of cartoonish,
kind of similar, right?
It is a little cartoonish out there. But beyond the Saturday morning games, now there is a Tacoma Park team, an official geezer team, 45 and over, in the Montgomery County League, right, which just started out.
What happened was, it was one Friday, I was looking in the Weekend magazine, and I saw an advertisement for soccer teams that were for 45 and older, and I got to thinking that we'd been playing for a while, and a lot of the guys who were playing in that Saturday morning league looked to me like they were over 45, and I thought, well, it's not how good could anybody else be? Even if we're lousy players, if these other people are that old, they can't be that good. And I started asking around, and I was real surprised at how many people who I thought were well over 45 weren't old enough to play, and other people that I thought were younger turned out to be old enough to play. But it didn't take
Right.
it didn't take that long
And
to.
you're old enough, and Jack is not.
That's right. And you're old enough.
I'm old enough.
And you're old enough, and it was. And I was surprised who was, and I went around and started talking to people, and found an incredible enthusiasm for being able to do it. And I started asking around, and I got a couple ringers from somewhere outside of Tacoma Park.
Well, and even though the team didn't win any championships, there is a story of the Tacoma Park team beating a team of Peruvian natives who hadn't lost in 7 years. At least that's the story, right? True.
Well, I don't know, but they had this one team had completely dominated the league. They'd beaten us 6-0 in the first game that we played, and they totally destroyed us. And we came back, and by the very last game of the season, I thought maybe they were just fooling around or something. I couldn't believe
They
we
might
were.
have been.
For all I know, they may well have been fooling around, but somehow by the end of the game, we had won 1-0, and it was like the whole team was like floating. And
a fabulous game. It should have been on the front page of the
Should have
Tacoma
been.
Voice.
I think it was
always
actually.
thought, right. Well, to come full circle, now there's going to be a soccer festival tournament on Memorial Day weekend. And what's unusual about, well, it's a 4-on-4, right, which is somewhat unusual. So it's a small fields and a small number of players. But what's also unusual is that there are geezers in it, right?
That's right. So we'll have geezer teams, 35 and over, and 45 and over. 45 and over, every team will have one woman playing at a time, and 35 and older will be both men and women, 2 each.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this up, and we're going to roll some phone numbers here. It may not be that as inundated as you guys are with soccer. You may not want a whole lot of phone calls, but Rick, you're looking for people who are 45
and older and are super soccer players.
And have Pele in the bloodline.
That's right, Pele in the bloodline. We got plenty of mediocre players already.
Right.
We're not looking for any new mediocre players.
Rick, your number's going to roll up here. Then Jack, your number's going to roll up, and you're just you will handle anybody who's got kids and who wants to talk.
Love to, yeah.
Love to.
I'd like to say one thing real
Yes.
quick. The person who really keeps this going is Howard. He's the treasurer of the fields coordinator, coaches a couple teams, and he's really, and keeps the database. And
self-promotion. Okay, that's it for now. That's all we have to talk about for soccer. Many thanks to you guys, and on to the next segment.
Next up, retired cop Condi Clayton on selecting the new Tacoma police chief, followed by an acupuncture demonstration on In Sickness and in Health.
Good evening. My name is Condi Clayton. I'm one of the local precinct official and president of Ritchie Citizen Association. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome our new police chief, Thomas Anderson, to Tacoma Park. For his entire life, Dan Workman gave of himself to Tacoma Park Police Department as well as the communities, raising through the ranks from a rookie police officer to captain. He assisted and guided the police department to a recognized, credited agency. Speaking as a retired police officer, I just want to know something that many of my past and present colleagues has agreed with. We all agree that all things being equal, whenever a vacancy occurs, you look within and promote accordingly. Chief Anderson is a very personable professional and appears to be capable of handling the job. But as we enter the new century, one must ask if Dan Workman, with his many years of experience and dedication and commitment to the community, was not a better choice. Against what criteria was the position selected? I believe that the citizen of Tacoma Park has a right to know an explanation as to why, for a second time, Dan Workman was not appointed chief Tacoma Park Police Department. After all, he did successfully lead the police department on 2 separate occasions. I met Dan Workman briefly prior to my retirement from DC Police Department. And I met him again when I came to work at Tacoma Park. At that time, he was a police captain. It was there that I recognized his commitment and his dedication to the city as he developed programs, attained grants, and presented new ideas that elevated the police department to new heights. I just want to thank Dan Workman for his many years of committed hard work, dedication that he's given, and I'm sure, with confidence, that he will continue to give to the citizen to Tacoma Park that same level of commitment. Officer Thomas, Chief Thompson, again, congratulations and thank you. You have our support.
Hello, I'm Kathy Christensen, and with me on In Sickness and in Health are 2 needle experts. No, nothing to do with knitting, or for that matter, heroin. Rather, they are experts at the ancient Chinese medical practice of acupuncture. Welcome, Sally Locks and Leslie Montgomery. Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of acupuncture? It's a very new practice to many people, but it's existed for thousands of years.
That's exactly right. It actually originated in China about 2,000 years ago, making it the oldest continually practiced medical system in the world. And what's really amazing about it is it originated millennia ago and it's still applicable today. as you said, many people now are turning to acupuncture as if it's being rediscovered. It's actually quite old, and it's having remarkable benefits for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons today.
Is it growing in popularity in the United States?
I think it's growing in popularity, yeah, everywhere, and particularly in the United States. I think a lot of people are becoming more and more curious as to how it can support them and their health, and get relief from symptoms that are coming up for them, or treat them more holistically, and listen to be heard and listened to in ways that hasn't happened for them before. And I think that there's a lot of interest.
Now, how does this fit in with traditional medicine? A lot of people call it alternative, but you prefer to call it complementary. Can somebody be treated by acupuncture alone, or is it to be in addition to other medical treatment?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great
go ahead.
question. I mean, about 1/3 of the world's population uses acupuncture as its primary health care. It's the only thing that they use, and they stay healthy. I use almost exclusively acupuncture for myself. I'm a fairly healthy person. And I like the word complementary simply because people shouldn't have to choose which health modality they want to use. And in many ways, there's kind of strengths to each practice, and the complementary nature really comes out, for example, in treating people with cancer. Acupuncture cannot treat cancer. However, the side effects of the medications, or supporting them in terms of being able to eat and even hold food down, helping with fatigue, all those other things, the complementarity there is really quite remarkable.
Mm-hmm. So this leads into who should be treated and who can be successful candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. Well, one of the great things about the art of acupuncture is that it can treat just about any symptom or any ailment that people might have. One of the things that the Chinese say is that there's as many diseases in the world as there are people, because it's the personalized approach that acupuncture offers that people get. If somebody comes to us with back pain and our next patient comes to us with back pain, the root of that origin will be addressed personally as to like where one person's back pain comes from, as opposed to another person's. It's not just a patented kind of formulated system, which is what makes it so individualized and personal for people.
So no two people would have the same treatment, really?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and people could go to probably 4 different acupuncturists, and there would be 4 different approaches as to how that person might be treated, or might be diagnosed, or held, although there's a unity as to the direction of how to move the energy, but there's also the uniqueness. And acupuncture is about relationship. It's about the relationship between the person and the practitioner and the patient, and which is another thing that makes it unique as to and it's about the patient and their relationship to life, and what moves them and what supports them and what they know about that, and where they get stuck in life. Because really a lot of symptoms that people seek treatment for is about stuckness. When their chi is not moving, their chi or their energy is not moving, then symptoms can manifest.
How would they choose which acupuncturist to go to? You say that one could perhaps search around for a while to find the right one.
Yeah, I think it is a really individual choice. I know that a lot of people that do shop around until they find the right relationship. They find somebody that they feel that they can talk to, and that hears them from the place that they want to be heard, and that they have the connection with that they need in a healthcare practitioner. So I think that that's a really legitimate thing that people do, is shop around, and I would definitely encourage people to shop around until they find someone that's comfortable for them and what they want.
At what point would someone decide, I want to try acupuncture? What kind of ailments? You mentioned back.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any ailments that probably it wouldn't be good for, or can really acupuncture tackle anything?
Well, I believe acupuncture can be beneficial for everyone. And part of that is because, or the main reason is, that acupuncture treats the whole person. It treats their physical body, their mental capacities, whether they're mentally clear or not, their emotional life, and also sort of the spirit for life. How enthused are they about living? Some people are very healthy physically and don't have a sense of purpose or direction. And when they reintegrate their body and their mind and their spirit, which the Chinese believe are inseparable, when they get that reconnected within themselves, they can experience a revitalization that can be quite profound.
What's involved in acupuncture? You mentioned the qi, the energy levels, and a lot of people think of it just being needles, but it's a whole lot wider than that. Could you explain a little bit about your approach?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, because it is a whole lot more than that. I mean, when a person first comes to us, we spend an awful lot of time talking to them, getting to know them as to what their life has been about, what has kind of brought them to this place, certainly what brought them into treatment and what they hope to get from treatment. And that comes up in many different ways. And I think
would someone need to talk for quite a while with you before they begin any needle treatment or physical?
They do talk. We do talk to them for an awful long time, and actually, the needling piece of it is just it's actually a small piece of it, because what we do a whole diagnosis. We do a pulse diagnosis. We do a whole physical exam, and we basically just get a picture of what this person's tapestry looks like, and the possibility of what this person's tapestry for life could be, and we help them, remind them. The needle actually reminds a person of the possibilities about their life, and we anchor whatever the interaction has been, and then based on what we find on the pulses, we do the movement. We design a treatment based on to help create that movement to open that person back.
The pulses would be on the wrist you'd measure?
That's right. There's 12 meridians within the body that carry the energy, the qi, throughout the body, and each of those meridians have certain responsibilities, have certain functions, and to get proper movement through them, we access an acupuncture point and we move the energy in particular directions, or stimulate it in certain ways that will create what it is we think that person needs.
You have with you here some of the implements that you use for acupuncture. Could you describe what you have?
Well, first we'll just show actually what the needles are. The needles look like. They come on, these are called cards.
You hold those up for the camera.
These are, this whole set is called a card. All the needles that we use are actually individually wrapped, and they're all sterile, and they're only used one time, and then they're discarded in a biohazard container. And so you can open the needles, and when you actually take the needle out, it's in like a little tube. I don't know where I need to be for this, but it's actually it's like a filament really, as opposed to just like a needle. It has a lot of flexibility. It's very fine. There's solid. It's a solid needle. It's not like a hypodermic needle. Nothing is put in through this needle, or nothing is taken out. So it's a solid filament, and the sensation that's often felt when the qi is moved, there is a sensation. It's not necessarily painful. The sensation varies with individual treatments and individual movements that happen. And
can you show perhaps how it would go in a person's skin?
I'd be happy to. Let me get a clean one. So don't put this on her.
So there's no risk of any infection because these are discarded after
That's right.
each
So when it's discarded, exactly. The needles, yes, are never reused. It's a very safe practice. So when a person would come to us, we would spend time talking, and we would do a diagnosis, and I would find out about what this person wants and where this person is at in their life and what we're treating them for. Then I would come up with a treatment, and I would go and I would engage the energy to be with it, and I would then locate the point, and we'll do a point here on this hand, and I would mark the point to give it some identification. Then I would swab the point with alcohol. And take the needle out. And I would get
Those really are very thin.
They are very
very
thin, aren't
fine.
they? And I would get another alcohol pad.
And they're not really pointy. The tips are rounded. And it
Interesting.
really isn't
It says
to
so.
break the
Right.
skin or break any
Yeah.
tissue, but just to slide into the energy.
Right. So then I would isolate the point. And I would put the needle there. And I would engage them, ask them to take a deep breath. And I would insert the needle. I would turn it. I would take it out.
It's as easy as that.
Yeah.
It
That's
certainly
as easy
seemed
as
very
that.
It doesn't
painless
go in
indeed.
very far at all.
No.
I didn't even feel anything, except the cold alcohol swab.
We're running out of time here, but can you tell me what your training is? There's quite a lot of skill involved in
Yeah,
this.
well, the state of Maryland requires 1,800 hours of training from an accredited program. It's basically a postgraduate, it's a master's degree program. We were each trained at the Traditional Acupuncture Institute in Columbia, Maryland. So we are, in the state of Maryland, we are licensed healthcare providers. So the insurance companies that follow the law will reimburse for any covered condition with acupuncture.
Thank you. We'll no doubt have more on acupuncture in future editions, but sadly that's all we have time for on this show. Thanks to Sally Laux and Leslie Montgomery of Crossings in Tacoma Park for joining us in the coffee house. Thank you.
Way out there in the poison glen, the sun's going down on the misty mountain, and I'm watching and wondering, feeling something from long ago. Haunted echo that surrounds the glen, heather creeping through the burned out ruins, and I'm watching and wondering, feeling spirits from long ago. May this veil be my silver lining, pleasing nature with the heart's desire, and I'm watching and wondering, feeling everything from long ago. La 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 la. Oh, la 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 la.
That's Celtic singer Grace Griffith. I'm David Eisner, and this is Musical Traditions. We'll hear more music from Grace in just a few moments. But first, let's learn a little bit about Grace and her music. Welcome to Traditions.
Hi, Dave.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Do we know each other?
I think I know you.
Okay, a long time, since that Southern Maryland Celtic Festival in 1978.
Let's avoid the arithmetic.
Okay, we won't do that.
Yeah. Math is hard, as Barbie said.
That's right. You have some gigs coming up.
I do.
Let's plug those gigs.
All right, let's do.
What do we got on April 19th?
April 19th, the Ellicott Theater in Ellicott City, Maryland, which is a lovely little place.
Okay.
And it's an old theater, really cool. I'll be playing there with a great piano player from Silver Spring named Paul Nahe.
Okay.
And Mike Stein, who is probably familiar to a lot of the audience from his fiddling and many other wonderful
A
talents.
retired Navy band guy.
Recently retired.
Country Currents.
Mhm.
How many years did he put in? Or we don't want to do the arithmetic.
Yeah, long
Okay.
time.
We mentioned the Southern Maryland Celtic Festival. I'll be there with our booth. You'll be there. What part of town's that in?
That's in Calvert County, scenic Calvert County down on the Patuxent River, a town called Port Republic, south of Prince Frederick. It's worth the drive. It's beautiful.
Hour and 15 minutes from DC area?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Worth the drive, though. They have dancers and
Good
craftsmen and everything from Wales, England, Ireland, Scotland.
The date on that is April 26th?
Last Saturday of the month.
A lot of music.
Including me.
Are you playing solo that day, or who are you going to be with on that day?
Various incarnations.
Okay. Let's see, April 28th, we're going to do a show with you for the Institute of Musical Traditions, and that's a Monday night. You're going to do that with Lisa Moscatello and Chris Noyes.
Two great singers.
Give us a sample. What are you going to do?
Well, when we get together, we do a mixture of contemporary and traditional stuff, and one of the things that we love to do is this little song by Ann Lister. It's a May Day song, and we'll just give you a snatch of it.
Give us a smidge.
Did you hear the sun on a bright May morning? Did you hear the sun when he played at dawn? Did you hear the sun on a bright May morning? Call down a blessing on the growing corn, on the growing corn.
That was a smidge. That was a smidge. You have a solo album out
I do.
on Blix Street Records.
Of Hollywood, California, that's right.
How'd you come up with a name like Blix Street?
They live on Blix Street.
Who does?
Bill Straw, the owner.
I guess that's
And,
easy enough.
It's the German word for bliss.
Okay. So it's a blissful record?
So far, yeah.
Okay. Readily available?
A House of Musical Traditions and
Of
other
course, of
area
course.
venues.
Why don't you, we're just about out of time. Why don't you take us out with maybe something from that recording? What are you going to play?
Well, I'm going to do something that's a mixture of something old and something new. This is a very old traditional song of homesickness from Ireland called The Quiet Land of Erin. I learned it from a singer named Kelly Kennedy. And then a modern musical setting of William Butler Yeats' beautiful poem about the lake island of Innisfree. By myself I'd be in Arctic one, where the mountains stand away, and I would let the Sunday go in a quiet place above the bay. Agaso hiere, agaso, hiere liendo magaso. Oh, the quiet land. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honeybee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I will have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the veils of the morning to where the crickets sing. Their midnights all a glimmer, and noons a purple glow, and evenings full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore.
Paul Hendrickson on his biography of former Defense Secretary Robert McNamara and 4 other Americans who helped define our Vietnam experience.